Mr. Trump is seen as an advocate of coal, an advocate of hydrocarbons, not particularly seen from the outside, certainly the international community, as a friend of renewables as well. Just put to bed some of the falsehoods about Mr. Trump and how you see the administration affecting domestic United States oil policy and perhaps demand on the back of that, and what it means internationally.
Well, I think it is obviously it's very much a change in emphasis from the Obama administration. The early Obama administration was in favor of shale because gasoline prices were high and it was nice to bring some more oil. But by the end, it was very much focused on the renewables, regulation. So people say they're rolling back regulations. Some of that, but what they're also not doing is putting new regulations on. And remember that U.S. oil and gas is largely regulated by the states. There's obviously kind of going to be a battle between Washington and Sacramento over fuel efficiency standards. But I think that one reason the business community, the U.S. business community, was supportive despite the globalization, the criticism of trade, of NAFTA and so forth, was they saw kind of deregulation and tax cuts, corporate tax rates, as the benefits that would be stimulative to the economy. And so I think, there has been less of a effort to put new regulations on. Under the Obama administration, you would have environmentalists sue the environmental agencies, and then they'd settle something that become the new regulation. So there is absolutely a change in balance here, and it's controversial.
It is controversial, and you mentioned China a lot in this interview as well. Do you think it's handed leadership in terms of international energy momentum, and whether it be EVs that we were talking about earlier on or renewables, do you think it's handed that to other players, namely President Xi?
Well, I think it used to be, in some ways, you'd say the most important city for what happened to the future of automobiles and regulation was Sacramento, California. I think it's now Beijing, because it's the largest automobile market in the world, and what they do, they've said that you're going to need some quotas now on electric vehicles and so forth, dealing with pollution, dealing with issues that are created by the urbanization of China. So I think that's true, and I think, at Davos, President Xi gave this speech on globalization that sounded like Bill Clinton 1995 or something like that. And I think the Chinese have now One Belt, One Road. They have stepped into kind of this leadership world with this massive economy. And people used to joke that instead of a G7 or G20, we were down to a G2, the US and China. And I think this Trump visit to Beijing really, I think, did underline that it really is a G2 now.
Is there a change in leadership in that relationship as well? I mean, people talk about clash of nations, clash of civilizations, handing over of the baton from one superpower to another. It isn't always friendly. It can be acrimonious as well. Do you see any problems coming from that changing relationship, emanating from the both having the desire for obviously more energy resources?
Well, I think obviously on North Korea is obviously the really most difficult question. But what you say on energy, ironically, a few years ago, it did look like it was a zero-sum game between China and there was going to be an inevitable clash. I think that's pretty much off the table now. Who's buying U.S. LNG? China. Who's buying oil from the United States? China. So I think, at least on the energy front, there is not that sense that there's an inevitable geopolitical clash, but actually, here's one place where markets are solving problems.
Hi, I'm Tanya Breyer, and thank you for watching CNBC Conversation. If you want to watch another episode, just click on the videos. And don't forget to subscribe to CNBC Life for the very best in feature programming. Thank you so much for watching.